Got 5 minutes to go.
Just 17 years old, Missy Franklin is already a swimming phenom. In 2011, she set a world record in the 200-meter backstroke and dominated at the World Championships, bringing home 5 medals, 3 of them gold.
This is 2020, not 2024, by the way.
Summer Olympics.
Being in the water just is so natural for me, and it comes like walking on land. I absolutely love what I'm doing, and I think that gives me a huge advantage.
One of Franklin's biggest advantages in the pool is her size. 6'1" with strong shoulders and long limbs that allow her to maximize thrust and overcome drag. 2 key components of fluid dynamics.
Thrust is what pushes the swimmer forward, and drag is the resistance of the water to the motion of the body.
This guy's pretty good.
Timothy Way is Dean of the College of Engineering at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln and has been supported by the National Science Foundation. Way has applied his knowledge of fluid dynamics to the sport of swimming, helping elite swimmers optimize their strokes and move faster through the water. Much as an engineer designs cars, boats, and airplanes to go faster and be more aerodynamic.
It's conceptually the exact same problem as an aerodynamicist studying the design of an airplane. Right? They put an engine on an airplane to push the airplane forward, and the air is resisting the motion. So the swimmer doesn't have engines, right? The engines are their body parts. And so they try and move their body parts in as efficient a way as possible to push water backwards.
From the moment the race starts, Franklin is in a battle against 3 types of drag. Frictional drag, sometimes called viscous drag, happens when friction pulls the water next to her body along with her, making it harder to move forward.
That's the frictional effect of the water as it goes by the body. That's really more the dominant drag force in a swimmer.
As she picks up speed, Franklin also encounters pressure drag, as the water moves around her head and body and doesn't reattach until past her feet, creating a pressure difference.
So high pressure on the front, low pressure on the back, and what you end up with is there's a pressure difference between the front and the back, so that is a force which is pushing the object backwards.
Franklin also encounters a 3rd type of drag called wave drag. As she moves forward, some water is pushed in front of her, creating a wave barrier to her progress.
Just like a speedboat has to climb over the top of that bow wave, the swimmer has to swim over the top of that.
Franklin counters these 3 types of drag with thrust, the propulsive force that moves her through the water.
The whole process of swimming technique is getting your body to move in as efficient a way as possible so you maximize the thrust. You take advantage of all the different kinds of thrusts that are available to you, which is the arm motion and the kicking motion.
Franklin creates thrust by cupping her hands and churning her arms in an effort to push as much water as possible behind her. She also kicks hard with her size 13 feet, what she calls her own personal
Size
flippers.
13.
Something about my last part of my
Those are
race
flippers.
just really gets me going. I just move my arms and legs as fast
Ladies
as I
size
possibly
13,
can.
of course.
In addition to thrust, Franklin relies on technique to help reduce her drag. Her stroke and body position are engineered to minimize her contact with the water, something swimmers call streamlining.
That's basically to just try and make yourself as thin and narrow an object as possible. Think about an airplane. You don't stick big things off the airplane wing that's going to block the flow. So you're going to do the exact same thing as the swimmer.
Each swimmer's stroke is so different, but just everything comes together. The way you put your hands in, the way you do this, the way you do that. Everything just makes your stroke unique.
Using streamlining and thrust to counter drag, Franklin takes advantage of the principles of fluid dynamics to reach for Olympic gold.
That's probably about it. Paid for by your money. It's the National Science Foundation. Good. Right, don't want that playing in the background. Welcome. A bit of eye candy to get the morning going. Syllabi floating around here. Not crucial that you grab a paper copy, but they are here. We'll talk about that online. My name is Derek Ellsworth. This is EME 303, Fluid Mechanics, one of the core classes in the second year, I guess, for all the disciplines in energy and mineral engineering, petroleum engineering, mining engineering, energy engineering and environmental systems engineering, and some energy business and finance majors as well. Maybe we have some other people beyond that. So it's a stock class for that. You might, the resources for this class, I guess, exist on Canvas. So we can go there and see what happens. You have the syllabus. Sometimes it's tough to get in the Canvas on 8 o'clock on the first day of classes. Historically, it has been. Password. Did it come up with my user ID? No, I don't. My Penn State user ID is FKD. For your interest. No numbers, not even any initial of my name. I guess the guy that day, or gal, didn't get the memo. But I've changed it to Ellsworth. My nickname's Ellsworth, so you can always find me pretty easily. So Canvas should be coming up. And so you won't quite see that, I don't think. You would see Student View. And I'm guessing, I'm not sure, Syllabus. So all the things that you need are on Canvas. Everything is served to you on that. I would say there's two websites you need to know. One is Canvas, which is will have the syllabus on it, which we'll look at later today. And the other, I'm not sure if this is my home page. Yeah, it's course resources page. So they both exist on Canvas. If you don't know where the course resources page is, then you can search for me. We never search for ourselves, right? We're not that vain. And you'll find that I am one of 3 Derek Ellsworths that exists online in the world. One is a coal merchant in Yorkshire. One is a preacher in Nova Scotia. And the other one is me. And so you will find I guess have a department page. I don't think that's, hopefully that is the department page. Don't want that. Greetings, come on in. This is me, and this is EME 303, exactly the same page. So everything is served up to you. You can always find it through Canvas. Most of our stuff will be on Canvas. If you want an electronic copy of the syllabus, it exists on Canvas. It also exists here. We'll use some course notes. You perhaps saw them a second ago on my desktop. 400 pages of stuff that we'll go through. My particular style, by the way, is to write things. Hence, I have this pad here. So use this as a whiteboard. Then it comes up here, and do that each time. So there's an 80 megabyte course notebook there that we'll use in class. One of the assignments is a group presentation. There's an example of that. For the presentation, you'll convert it into a PowerPoint into a movie and upload it, and there's instructions on how to do that here. Maybe you all know how to do that now, but those exist. There's a grading rubric for the class, which is an Excel file. We'll talk about the grades in a moment. The grades that come out of Canvas for all the things that get put on there, everything gets put on there, are the grades, the correct grades. And so you can use that. But sometimes that's confusing for students because Canvas takes assignments that you haven't submitted. It doesn't count them as not submitted if the deadline's gone and you can't get the grade for it. And so sometimes the grade in Canvas is higher than your real grade. So a grading rubric says exactly what the course scores are, and it's an Excel spreadsheet that you can use. I won't go through it now. I'm sure you don't care about that. And all the things that we record in class will go up on the YouTube webpage. This is from it lies. It's not really 2024, it's actually 2023. So 1.1 is today, 1 year ago, exactly. And you can see what I said then. I probably won't say much different from what I'm saying now in actuality. And so that is available to you. And of course this melange, if you like, of different things. These are all the classes from the previous years. So you can see how long I've been recording it. 2013 is the earliest. So is that 11 years? Or is it 12? I think it's 12, isn't it? So including this year. So you can get those. So you could see what we were doing a year ago, if you so wanted. I don't think we showed the Olympics video. Oh, this is fun.
And so we'll talk about this a bit later on. Of course, it's pure fiction of exactly what.
Oh, that's not the funny one. There is a funny one. There's a Berlitz one of a guy saying in German, "Mayday, Mayday, German Coast Guard here. What's happening? Mayday, Mayday, we are sinking." Coast Guard, what are you sinking about? It's an ad for Berlitz language. I guess what you do these days in Duolingo, right? Or is it Babbel? No, whatever. Doesn't matter. Okay, where were we? I've got off track. So that's pretty much it. This is the Poseidon Adventure. That's the video you saw then, way before your time. Relevance to fluid mechanics. It's a liner in the middle of the ocean, gets hit by a tsunami. Tsunamis in the middle of the ocean may be 10 centimeters high. They're much bigger when they hit land, as you saw in Japan in your lifetime, right? 2011 was the great Eastern Japan earthquake and tsunami. 25,000 people died only in the tsunami. Done a great job at guarding against earthquakes and earthquake-resistant structures now, but only since maybe 2004, which is almost also just in your lifetime, I would guess. The great Indian Ocean tsunami was a wake-up call where an offshore earthquake made a tsunami that people couldn't fathom the destruction of it, and it unfortunately killed 200,000 people. But now we know better, so we can guard against those. So these are the course resources. You'll see all the classes. I will post today's. It will be right here and be called 2024. You can see that there are review notes for the midterms and a recorded review and an equation sheet, which we'll talk about today. So everything is available to you. So I don't want you to be drinking out of a fire hose today or feel that you're drinking out of a fire hose, but those two sites. So Canvas for one, and the course resources page, you'll be able to find everything you need. Let's go to the syllabus. So I use Notability. I don't know if any of you use things, you use note-taking tools. And so Notability looks something like this. I mentioned before the not very polished but very long course notes page that I'll scribble on, typically in a class. And so you'll see this. We'll go through this maybe next time. This is fluid mechanics writ large. We've talked about fluid mechanics in one aspect of the Olympics today. Of course, there's others. Soccer balls curve. Cyclists want to reduce drag, etc. You can imagine it all. Javelins fly. No baseball in the Olympics. The reason baseballs spin. Golf balls, the reason golf balls are dimpled are because you want to break from laminar flow to turbulent flow, and it's better if you have a dimpled surface. It happens at a much lower speed, and so it reduces drag so the ball can go farther. And all little ditties like that. So it's a very pragmatic course. It has lots of applications in everyday life. So this exists, and you can download this. It's about 80 megabytes. Let's spend some time on the syllabus. So, does this work today? See how adept I am after not doing this for a while. Oh, good. That's us. So we're here today. I call it a blended class because we're not in the classroom all the time, as you'll see. Great room, chemical, biomedical building. Nice. It's been here now for a few years. There is a text that goes with the class. The text is this. I saw it that it exists in the library, in the bookshop. There's one version that's specially made for Penn State, which is lacking the chapters on compressible flow and turbo machinery, which are the last couple of chapters. It's still $100, but a paperback, and so, but that is the one that has historically been made specially for this class. It also exists as a regular copy that you can get online, and you can see it. And so this is the place where you can get it if you want to search online at Wiley's location. The other piece of information that perhaps is useful to you is we don't use the book in this class. It's a support structure. I think it's a good book. Some of the notes that I use are kind of taken from it, but from a previous edition. Certainly probably earlier than the 6th edition. Certainly you can probably find some of these much cheaper and perhaps even for free. And so if you want to have a book to support you, but don't want to shell out the cash for the most recent edition or the electronic edition with all the interactive stuff in it, then that's the way to go. So you can choose what you wish to do. So this is me. I'm in Hostler, often with the door open. Happy to have you around to say hello, to tell me who you are, introduce yourself, where do you come from. Afternoons are best. It's good to get stuff done in the mornings. People don't come. How many of you spent any time in Hostler, not lately, last semester or the semester before? Yeah, fine, okay. So it seems almost a deserted building these days, post-COVID. But anyway, so I'm off and around. So the other resources for this is we have 2 TAs who will be responsible for the tests, Matt and Junpeng, who actually have their PhD qualifying exams as we speak, I think, today. So I hope they're feeling well today. They're going through their own personal trauma. And as indeed I am, and perhaps you are too. And we have an undergraduate TA, Isabella, was a person in this class last year, sat about there, did well. And so she'll spend 10 hours a week for you to swing by and talk about your homeworks if you so wish, or to talk about the impending tests or understanding the material as you wish. She hasn't set up her times yet because I don't think she's allowed to work on campus yet. She has to do her I-9, but she'll be up for next week, etc. If you want to find the course resources page, we've already been there. This link should work from the PDF file. It won't work from Notability to be able to link us there. And of course, if you want to watch, I only found this out this summer. Some of the people complained last year, oh man, that guy's such an asshole. He makes us watch ads. I'm sure he's monetizing these and making money out of us. No, not so. They're not monetized. We did talk about that when I first doing that. We were going to monetize them and we're going for beer at the end of the year, but we never quite did that. So they're not monetized, but I think they do come up with really annoying ads if you don't sign into a Google account. And so I learned that last year. I'm always logged in somehow to a Google account in the background in my browser, and so I never see them. And perhaps I don't see them because it's my own YouTube account. I'm not sure. So anyway. And all the other stuff you must be well familiar with Canvas by now. Prerequisites are Math 250, 251, and Physics 212. I don't know that Penn State lets you in classes these days without that. Usually I get some people emailing me saying, can I take this class if I don't have the prerequisites? And I usually email them back and say, yeah, sure, if you want, just so long as you understand that you need to know the material that predates this and be comfortable with the material. And so the one good thing I think about this class is that everything that you need is online and visible to you in advance. So if you think you'd feel uncomfortable with the class, you can check that out before you come to class. A whole year of previous classes is available online for every single class. It might not all be 2023, but a previous year it would be. In fact, one of the ones in which the oldest material exists will probably be 2 weeks Monday, because 2 weeks Monday is usually Labor Day, and we don't have a class on Labor Day. This year, Labor Day is next Monday, and so anyway. So we could look back at those things. Well, you can check yourself on your phone as to what the date is for the, it would be 3.1, I guess. 3:1 would be week 3, class number 1. So those are so to round that out, if you don't have prerequisites, you might want to talk to me. I can sign you in, I think, still. I don't think Penn State's completely stopped that out, and I'm perfectly fine with that. If you don't have prerequisites, to me, it's a personal choice, and so I'd much rather people make personal choices and take responsibility for what they do than just have a blanket rule that says you're excluded because you just don't have this set up for yourself. The grading is as follows from these, as you can see here. There are roughly 13 equally weighted assignments. They close at midnight on Thursday. So don't assuage your thirst too early on Thursday because you might not get them in. And they do shut down. I don't open them up. It's also the positive is you can take the class maybe without prerequisites based on personal responsibility. The negative is if you don't get the stuff done on Thursday because of personal responsibility, I rarely open it up. It has to be some very harrowing story that you give me to make me do that. So it's just a matter of taking responsibility. They're completed online, they're submitted online. The actual assignments, and actually it might be worthwhile doing that. Also on Canvas, I'm not sure what it will show us. The assignments also are decoupled from the book, but they're questions from a previous version of Munson. And so they exist on here. So if you look here, download weekly problems, it's there from the 7th edition. So if you download these, it'll go straight to your, well, I guess I could open them, you'll see what they are. Should open, yeah. So it's the questions taken out of the book. So again, you don't need the book. Don't buy the 9th edition and hope that the questions are from that. They're not. Publishers are smart enough to change the questions every year so that you have to get the new book, etc. But we've stuck with this. 1, because it's perhaps better for you. 2, because it's better for me because I don't have to change the questions every year as well. So that is one of the things that you should do from today. So the other thing that you might do from today, while I'm down here, is you should download the midterm and final tests. I don't know if what it will do here. It's a zip file, a very big zip file, 1/4 of a gig. So I don't want to do that. But you can download it. And so you can download it onto your own machine. It'll do it over time. If it downloads, perhaps we'll open it up as we get out of here. But so the resources today, there'll be a note at the end of this class, 2 things to do. Download the homework questions from the 7th edition and also download the exams. Because the homework assignments, I don't want to say they're trivial, but they're pretty straightforward. And I always make the point that if you're acing the homeworks, that doesn't mean that you're going to ace the tests. So work towards the test. The homework assignments are kind of get you in the swing of things. They shouldn't be too much of a problem to you. There may even be solutions floating around. You know the edition. There are solution manuals. Don't do that. To me, don't do that. But they are not an arbiter of how well you do in this class. The arbiter of how well you do in the class is how you do on the tests. And the tests are in midterms, which are in class, closed book, closed notes, and finals, also in class, probably in the last week of classes. Can't be more than 10% by Penn State's rule, a rule for you to protect students so that all your professors don't give you 50% of your grade on tests in the last week of classes, not an exam week, but in the last week of classes. And so the midterm tests will actually be in the weeks shown on this calendar. And so they'll be in the classroom in here on the Monday, Wednesday, and Friday of weeks 4, 9, 13, and 15, right? 15-week semester. And so at least you get an idea of those. They've evolved over the years. They were all 3 questions on a Wednesday evening at 8 o'clock. People can stay till midnight, and some did. They were kind of open-ended questions. During COVID, we moved online out of necessity. On some days in fall 2020, I was perhaps the only person here with one other guy, Connor Patton, in ROTC on occasions. And the tests were necessarily online with people in their parents' basements, I'm guessing, doing them. And now this year, we used Pollock Testing Center last year. That was horrible. I won't go back there again. And so we'll do them on in the classroom. And we'll talk about those as we go through this. So those are the dates that are available. I think those dates don't conflict with things. I've looked, for instance, at the SPE annual technical conference. It's not the week that we have in September. It's a different week. So if you plan to go to that, that's great. Certainly if you have university prescribed things that you need to go to that conflict with these things, that's okay. Just need to get a letter from your advisor and we wave you through. And so I skipped one. So weekly assignments are worth 15% total. There's probably 13 of them, all on Thursday evenings at midnight. They close. The TA is going to have her hours on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays to kind of serve that goal. If you wish to use her, they'll be in 111 Hostler, down next to the lounge, I think, in Hostler. I'll also assign you once the course stabilizes in terms of enrollment, so people don't drop in and drop out, into groups. We'll choose the groups randomly, just like you would do if you're assigned a team in a company. And you have to make a one PowerPoint slide presentation about fluid mechanics. And perhaps we will talk about it today, perhaps we won't talk about it today. It should be maybe a 5-minute presentation with one slide. It's morphed. People like to do a slide each for a group of 5 because then they can do it individually, divide and conquer rather than meet each other all the time or sit in a group. You know, the key to group work is always to divide and conquer. Meet, come up with a plan, decide on what your topic is. Could do it online through email as well. Typically there are leaders and followers in groups, people with strong opinions and less strong opinions. Come up with the idea, and really it should be to describe the problem, to have a hypothesis of how it works, and then do some little calculation to do that. So hypothesis is that there are 2 forms of drags for swimmers. They're viscous drag and pressure drag, and they change at some Reynolds number. And so you could do a little presentation to show that indeed, if you define Reynolds number for the swimmer, which is just equal to the inertial forces divided by the viscous forces, a well-known number. At a magnitude of that number of about 2,000, you change from the regime where you have viscous drag, like honey dragging on you as you're swimming, to pressure drag, where you have a pressure ahead of you, like you putting a leaf blower on me, and the leaf blower hits me in the chest. The pressure on my chest is higher than the pressure behind me because I'm destroying the momentum of the air that hits my chest. So pressure is transferred, velocity, v squared over 2g is transferred into p over gamma w, Bernoulli's equation. Very simple things. And so the better the presentation, the more intriguing the idea. So swimming would be okay, that's a real thing. Could also talk about the bow wave, again, indexed by Froude number, indexed by gravity force, the ratio of gravity forces to inertial forces. Again, a standard number, and you can put a number on it to say how important that resistance will be to swimming. All kinds of things to do. So everyone chooses to do, why does a baseball spin, why does a soccer ball spin, why is a golf ball dimpled? But they're also quite innovative things. Why do you put rifling on for a bullet, etc.? And so typically that is due sometime around Thanksgiving, and we look at the schedule now. So we won't set those groups yet, but we will do as we go further on. So the midterm exams are each worth 20% for each sitting. So each exam, I guess, is worth 6.66%. Each of these exams, given by my abject generosity, the exams are out of 100, but you get 110% for them. So these are equal to times 1.1. So although they're out of 70%, actually the full exam total is actually out of 77%. So 10 questions, 10 points each, 100%. If you get 100%, you actually get 110%. And that goes into the calculation canvas. And so finally, so that's 7% here. that's extra, beyond this 10%. I wonder whether I should still do it, because it's confusing, because you're never quite sure whether it's included or excluded in your Canvas grade, etc. So, but it's probably you prefer to have it rather than not, I'm guessing. So we won't change that. And so for the couple of times that we have tests in class, we have these online content quizzes. And these online content quizzes would be in lieu of these test periods. You know, one reason for doing the tests in class is that you've absolutely scheduled this class, so you absolutely have this open in your schedule. And so there shouldn't be any reason that you can't make it. You might choose to come or not come to class on other occasions, but it's certainly an open spot in your schedule. So that's part of the rationale for that. And they'd be from 8 till 8:30. So they're half-hour tests. So on those days, the material that is for the class, clearly we wouldn't have class, but we have a bank of online material, either from 2023 or 22 or whenever, together with some assignments online. And I don't know whether they will come up on, see if they're, the first one, don't know, yeah, not available, so it's not. So 2.1 is next Monday. So they're for extra credit, and so you don't have to do them, but you do have to do them if you want extra credit. And the same as you don't have to come to class, you don't have to do these assignments these quizzes when they're attached, but they do give a small amount, quite a small amount of extra credit, right? I guess I want to go here. And so the small amount of extra credit is 1/3 of a percentage point per each one. So 3 for a week would 1%. There's 2 weeks when it clashes with our classes for our tests. So you're released at 102%, but actually you're not just at 102% because you've got this, and that adds 7, so it's actually 109. So 109% is the maximum you can get out of this class so far. Actually, it's a bit more than this. It's probably going to be 3% because it's going to be 2 times 3 for 1 week, but also the 1 day on Labor Day week, which is 1/3, and I round up to the next one, so it'd be 3 actually already, but I haven't put that in yet. And so the grades, as you see here, are all out of 100%. So you can get 109%, but your grade will be based on these breaks. So these breaks are actually algorithmically factored into Canvas, so it'll calculate them automatically. But again, be careful of Canvas, because not until the end of classes, I guess midnight on the last day of classes, does the gate come down on Canvas, and it takes the previous assignments that have been due that haven't been delivered, and it counts them as zeros instead of maybe you can get points for them, right? So there's some ambiguity in that. So what else do I need to talk about? Questions? I've been doing a lot of talking. I like chatting. Do you like chatting? But not to me. Yes, indeed. Oh, I have to have a bit of you. I know it's actually not really an adversarial thing, right? It's just, I know we're going to be judging you somehow because you have to do this stuff. But actually, a pretty friendly guy. You should swing by my office one day and just say hi. It's good to introduce yourself. You know, 2 years from now, you're going to be looking for someone to write you a letter for a company you want to work for, or a letter for graduate school. So I don't know that I'm the person that you want to link up with, but you need to have someone on campus know who you are to write more than what I write if I'm asked cold. I was in your 303 class. Can you write me a letter for graduate school? Sure. Did we ever talk? I don't think so. Well, all I can say is, took a challenging class in fluid mechanics, and she got A, B, C, D, and that's it. So I will write that for anybody, but I'm not sure that's really what a grad school wants to see when they're making these decisions. So I will write, I do, as a matter of fact, always write letters for people, but if I don't know you, then I can't write anything. I'll send you my resume. You can learn all about me. I don't think so. Your employers can read your resume just as well as me interpreting it for them. So I think that's an important thing that you might think about in your career. Obviously, you're going to want to use this as a vocational step in your career, either for a job or for graduate school. And so that final part might be useful for you to think about. No one talking to me? Should I stop talking for long enough so you can? Well, at least you're looking at me, not at the floor. All right, so I think this is the narrative that explains this in terms of the grades, which is here. Weekly assignments, yeah, work together but submit your own work. There, again, I repeat, don't think of them as an arbiter of how well you're doing. If you're acing them, great. But, what's that hiccup? If you're acing them, great, but don't, it's the exams that I think are the lion's share of the grade, 70%, essentially. So you need to do well on that. Group presentations, usually it works out okay. You know the vagaries of group presentations, that sometimes, as I said earlier, you have leaders and followers. Sometimes you have leaders and people who can't find the group ever. And so you get to peer review your colleagues as a small sample of your ability to at least control your own lives in that circumstance. And the resources for that are on the class resources page. If you go down through this is all. This is probably cut off from the syllabus you have. Syllabus you have is 4 pages. I think this is the 4th page. This is the presentation. There's a rubric on it that says what you should do. A curious observation about fluid mechanics. Could be swimmers in the pool. Why is Missy Franklin's span greater than her height? Probably is for swimmers, right? That's a very critical dimension, that you have your span between the tips of your fingers being larger than your height. Of course, size 13 feet don't hurt. I'm not sure what size Phelps's feet are, but they're big as well. Having webbed toes, I guess, would help as well, right? I'm not sure whether you can have those surgically applied. I think probably not, etc. So an observation, explain it somehow, do some quick analysis and come to a conclusion. The schedule of this is that in week 3, when everything's calmed down, I'll put people in groups on Canvas randomly. You should meet, you should come up with a topic by week 7. There'll be reminders of this in class if you still come to class, and reminders on Canvas. You've already had 2 reminders, right? You've had welcome back. You're sitting on the beach somewhere and you're getting this text on your phone, what's going on here? So on Friday. And you also got an email, not a text, I guess, on Saturday. So every Saturday morning, I think, yeah, it is every Saturday morning. It's different for my different classes. You'll get deliverables for week 1. You've already had them. No deliverables this week. Classes are in class, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. Wait to class to buy a book, was it? And then third was no homeworks this week. First homework is Thursday of week 2. Next Saturday, this coming Saturday, you'll get a similar reminder. Classes in class or out of class, blah, blah, blah. Homework 1 due on Thursday. So they're quite perfunctory, but they're to set you up for what you need to deliver. So it's quite moderately well organized. Choose a topic, confirm the topic by us confirming the topic, that no one's duplicating it. Not so important these days. We used to have these a week set up so that we could have in-class presentations. I think before COVID we veered away from in-class presentations, but we have presentations are online. You're not required to look at your other ones. We used to ask people to come to class to see the whole bank of presentations over the 3 days of that week, but we don't do that now. You should record it, and then and then deliver it on the Sunday before Thanksgiving week. So classes are off that week. Could be the Friday of that week. Obviously, lots of people disappear that week and are gone, so whenever you get it in, you can, but that's kind of the drop-dead deadline. And then there's a grading rubric, which divides things into people who've made an effort, people who've done okay, and people who really haven't really cared very much about it, that are on a sliding scale. And a peer review grade where you get to talk about your colleagues, which accounts for 15% of the grade, just to give you some control over your lives. We have passed, well, actually not passed, some ideas of what to do. All kinds of things. We'll talk in more detail on Wednesday about how fluid mechanics is all around us. And so there are a ton of things you can do. And I'm sure a ton of things you can find online as well. But it really doesn't have to be a very onerous task. It is worth 15% of the grade, as you see from this. Where is it? Here. And so it's not particularly onerous. I don't know whether, I guess there are some examples on the course resources page. Yeah, not the example. Yeah, actually there is. So there's some examples from previous students. These are good examples, by the way. I'm not trying to trip you up. So you can look at those. Don't know. Yeah, it is playing. I don't know where the sound is, so I guess the sound's turned off, maybe. Sound's turned off. Sound's not turned off? No, I don't know. It doesn't matter. So there's some examples previously, and so they've evolved. This looks like it's 4 minutes long, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know why the sound's not playing, but we won't worry about that. So I haven't done it recently, but there are different... I remember there's one of people standing up with a green screen behind them, a chroma key screen, so they're actually in the frame of the presentation. What controls fluid circulation in the oceans? Well, a spinning planet and winds, right? And so that exists, and so I don't want that playing. I don't want these playing in the background, overwriting my sonorous voice. So that's that. They've evolved also. I guess the other thing is that if I go to the course resources page, which easiest way is here, my group presentation example is this. So this is how it started out. I think it's PowerPoint, yeah. Yeah, okay. So this was my original idea many, many moons ago, is observation, analysis, and a conclusion. So it could be one slide. Sometimes it's not so convenient for everybody to use one slide. You see that in this we use, well, I don't know. This is actually the German, no, this is tsunamis, etc. I don't know why it's on here. But anyway, you could use a movie to tie something in, as you saw people have done. This is a very simple question. You saw the Poseidon adventure? See if it'll run for here. I think it will. So there we go. Don't know where the sound is. Don't know. This is curious. Sorry again? Say? Oh, thank you. Good. Not good. How do I get it on here? Oh, yeah. If I move it onto the screen. Okay, let me get out of the presentation, maybe. Thanks, you. You are allowed to shout at me. It's perfectly admissible, perhaps desirable. I'd be just happy having you watch this. A tsunami in the middle of the ocean? Ich don't think so. Not what it looks like. Has to run up on a beach. Well, this would be playing. But the point is, and you'll see this. So this is a cruise ship going around, hit by a tsunami in the middle of the ocean. Gene Hackman, if you know him. The guy from Naked Gun, yes, and the airport movies. There you go. That's not what they look like. So one question you could ask, is that a model, or is it reality, or is it a model or reality? Still not talking to me? It's a model, right? So, but how do you know it's a model? I think there are two reasons that you might think it's a model. And these are the two reasons here. One is, if you look at the system, you see these big boulders of water. And so the question is, can water be present at huge drops which might be meters in size? And so I think you can see that they're meters in size because you compare the size of them relative to the model. And so you can show by looking at its surface tension of a droplet. We know what the magnitude of that surface tension is. The tension that allows bugs to walk on the top of the water. You can show that the maximum size of a raindrop that you can get that would hold together is perhaps 5 millimeters. SI course. No English units at all in this class. And so it's impossible to get a droplet which is a meter across. And so we're smart, our eyes are cued to that, and so we think it's a model, I think. The other thing that you could look at is that how quickly do these droplets fall? If you drop something in gravity, it drops at the same rate, but you have behind it a scale of the ship. And so if you see a drop that's going from here at the top of the ship to the bottom of the ship in a second, you know that that can't be true, because if the ship was really 50 meters tall, then it wouldn't go that quickly. And so there are two things that you could suggest that might be why it looks like a model. So it can be a very simple idea, and I think that the simpler ideas are actually the better ones, in my opinion. So we've done a lot of marking up on this, so that's what the assignments are. In terms of the course, today we're at the beginning of it. The first material that we go through is on so-called fluid statics. Fluids that are sitting, you go down in the fluid to dive, you know that the pressure builds up. What are the rates as the pressure builds up? If you have water in your cup and you're walking, what are the forces and pressures in that water? Do they change if you accelerate them in a car? So that's our first part for the first 3 weeks. Buoyancy as well. Then we start talking about Bernoulli's equation for dynamics, moving fluids, and understanding the three components of Bernoulli's equation: elevation head, pressure head, and velocity head. And then the consequence of those. So we'll talk about that till for a couple of weeks, 4 and 5. Then we'll use control volumes for 3 weeks. Control volumes for mass in equals mass out to do balances of fluids. The second one is momentum in equals momentum out, which is just incidentally, the only equation you need for this class is Newton's second law, F equals ma. It says that if you destroy momentum of something, mass times acceleration or deceleration, you need a force to do that. And that's just as true for this pencil as it is for a blob of water moving through a system. And so we'll do that. So the three control volumes we'll use is mass in, mass out, mass balance, momentum in, momentum out, momentum balance, and energy in, energy out. And so for the energy engineers who want to know that if you destroy kinetic energy on a wind turbine, how do you do that? Then that's exactly what it is. We convert energy from one form to another by writing equations. So that's kind of the theoretical part. We talk about a really powerful method called dimensional analysis, which is a misnomer because it's really dimensionless analysis. You write all your variables as dimensionless variables, like Reynolds number. It has no units. Froude number has no units. And we use those to be able to, for instance, put an airplane in a wind tunnel and be able to calculate what the forces, lift and drag would be on a full-sized airplane. Perhaps we don't need to do that now with the advent of digital computers. And then the practical application of this class. Flow in pipes, to be able to look at flow down well bores, ducts in heating systems, flow of groundwater and petroleum fluids in the subsurface in porous media. They all follow the same rules. Flow over immersed bodies, external flows, which would be wind turbines, for one, would be something. And then, perhaps not so relevant for this class, but we'll talk about it anyway, is flow in open channels, in ditches and in rivers, etc. for 2 weeks. Actually, it's squeezed into 1 week, as it turns out. And so that brings us to the end. Academic conduct, well, submit your own work. We'll do the tests in the classroom. When we get close to the tests, we'll talk about the tests. You can look now at the review sessions for the tests. Actually, why don't I do that since it's available? I know you're getting ready, you're getting antsy on me and packing up, but it's only 1:45. So before every midterm, I will do a review and record a review, and it will look something like this. And I'm not trying to trip you up. It'll include everything you need for that bank of 3 midterms. It tells you what the material are. It won't be in the Pollock Test Center. Ignore that. It'll be in the classroom. But it will tell you every single equation that you need will be there, because this sheet will also be available to you at the time of the test in here. So it's closed book, closed notes, but with this sheet here. And you can see I just go through quickly to summarize what we've talked about over the previous 3 weeks, cut you a break. I know you're all busy and got lots of things going on. We want to give fair appraisal of what you know, etc. And so you can see the material here. No time to be able to completely cover everything we've taught in 3 classes per week for 3 weeks, 9 hours. This runs for 20 minutes, so it really is a summary. You might look at these. They're here for the last many, many years. So you can see what the questions have been, what information you've had beforehand. You can check them against the exams for that year to see that I wasn't blowing smoke, that it really was what the material that you got on here. And so this will start making sense to you sometime in the future. They are single answer tests, no working credit. They're just single answers with a span of 10% either side. It's a toss-up between what you do. What you can do is you can look at the tests pre-2019, or 2019 before is pre-COVID. So obviously, as I said, we did 3 questions in one sitting on a Wednesday night, 8 o'clock till midnight. Look at those tests. When we went into the online, we started changing the exams, so it was 3 separate tests on 3 separate occasions, much better. But they're also lead-on questions. So you see that the question here, you're spoon-fed the question in some respects on the more recent ones. So they're more straightforward. The previous ones were more freewheeling. We did give credit for that. We took the exam in. We got the exams back to you 10 days or 2 weeks later after we gave you credit. I'm not sure it's in your best interest, so we won't do that. It's much better for you to have a short exam where it leads from question to question, that it follows on. We try and make it so that the numerical scores don't matter as you move on. So it doesn't penalize you if you slip up on the first one. So we try and do that. And you can look at them. So I know so if you download the exams, you'll see that not only are the tests there, the solutions are there as well. And so you can work your way through that. I don't know what I've missed out. So, oh yes, I did miss out one thing. Yeah, so I'll do things. So the other thing, it pains me to do this, but I will do it anyway. Nothing bizarre, but pains me to do this, but this, yeah, fine. So I'm sure you've seen this before. Public safety, exits, 1, 2, 3. A very low probability, but potentially high impact event. So just be fine. All it says is that if there's a problem, and we managed to make it through the fire alarm, apparently, without getting buzzed today. If there's a problem, get the hell out of here. Those are the exits. If you can't get out of here, then hide. And if something happens and it's not looking good, then you have nothing to lose but to fight. So, terrible note to finish on, but never mind. Now, any questions? Oh, God, you're not going to make me speak all term long.
So on there's like an online asynchronous class. Like there's a week.
If you prefer to not come to class, that is your prerogative. I will be.
Like if there's an exam and it's on an online asynchronous.
No, it's in the classroom only. Yeah. Yes.
Where can we download the whole one?
Canvas. I did it for you. It's yeah, fine. Yeah, Canvas. If you look at the recording of this one, you'll find out. So this class will be posted sometime today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Meet you, Professor Ellsworth. I had a quick